One thing we kept hearing over and over again was about this missing FBI report regarding the security tape hard drive and the blacked out footage. So we looked into finding that report to see if we could locate it, and we did.
Yo, if I had 100 sheep and one of them got away, I would leave the night.
Sheriff Park, if you will, walk me through this process, through the process of this investigation, and talk about the resources that went into this investigation.
Of course, you know, when Kendrick was found, I was not a sheriff. There was another sheriff here. And, but, you know, I came back after roughly 8 years after, this incident happened. And it was still on the minds of a lot of people in this county. I'm born and raised here, and I know a lot of people. We might have 30,000, 40,000 people. I know a lot of them. And it was an issue. It was an issue during the election, actually, where you look at this case. And, of course, the case was, when it happened out there, it wound up with a lot of agencies involved. You got the FBI, the G.B.R, the Department of Justice, the Lowndes County, Valdosta, Lowndes County Crime Lab, of course, the Sheriff's Office at that time. They were the lead investigators to start with. And, you wind up with actually probably hundreds of people involved looking at this. It was extensively looked at by the FBI and the Department of Justice. So I was just looking at the amount of effort and files and plane trips and people brought in, and over 58 people, I think 58 people went before the grand jury. They were questioned, and probably $3 or $4 million spent by the federal government on it. And I forget exactly what their conclusion was, but they didn't conclude it was a homicide. They just kind of, I believe they used the word unfounded, or I forget exactly how they did it. But when I came back, I knew those files were out there with all this information that nobody had ever seen in our agency. And I told people I'd do my best to look into it personally. I mean, I've been in this over 20 years, and I hope that a lot of people around here, people that know me, trust me. Because I live by my word. I'll die before I tell a lie.
One thing we kept hearing over and over again was about this missing FBI report regarding the security tape hard drive and the blacked out footage. So we looked into finding that report to see if we could locate it, and we did. However, the report was heavily redacted. But then we were able to find the unredacted FBI report, and what we discovered blew us away. You see, in the redacted report, you can barely see any of the video frames. Most of the frames are blacked out, and the ones with KJ are barely recognizable. In the unredacted report, we were able to see all the video frames in full color, The report follows KJ, Brian, and Brandon's movement throughout the school for the entire day and records where they were. Not only is this further video evidence that the Bell boys were on campus when KJ went missing, we found something that the FBI clearly didn't want us to see. Let us put them side by side so you can see what we found. Here they are. Can you see something a little odd? Look closely. There appears to be a frame on both pages that matches. How could this be? What tipped us off is KJ's yellow folder. We were going through Brian's movements and all of a sudden, KJ's folder appeared on screen. That's right. There's a frame on KJ's side and Brian's side that is identical. The boys are standing seemingly right next to each other in the hallway.
Did you see Kendrick that day?
No. I did not.
Seeing the alleged killer of KJ standing next to him in the hallway the day he died in school has sent chills down our spines. How did no one see this frame? How did the FBI let this go? Why did it take 6 years and an independent filmmaker to find this? These are all questions that may never go answered. But what we do know for sure is that we have more facts now than we ever had. And this case needs to be reopened and re-examined with a fine-tooth comb.
If he was inside the Met, reaching for that shoe, inside this tube, reaching for the shoe, and the shoe is beneath him, why isn't that shoe covered with blood?
And what do you think about that shoe not being covered with blood? Do you?
It was placed there.
Hey,
Sheriff Prine? Hi. Victor Blackwell, CNN.
Chris Prine.
The Sheriff's Department has denied a cover-up, but we took the Johnsons' concerns to Lowndes County Sheriff Chris Prine.
Got some questions about the Kendrick Johnson case.
I'm not going to discuss that with you.
Why not, sir?
Because our case is closed.
The family has some concerns about why some things were not taken into evidence. There was blood on the wall.
I'm not going to discuss the case with you.
And why is that?
Because I don't want to.
Then, less than a minute after he'd invited us in,
What did you not understand that I said? I'm through talking to you.
he ushered us out.
Thank you, Sheriff Prine.
I don't believe this was an accident. I think this young man met with foul play.
Johnson's family and their spokesperson met with the Lowndes County Sheriff's Office today to discuss what they believe is new evidence. This comes after the Sheriff's Office received new files in the case this month. The U.S. Attorney's Office sent the Sheriff 17 boxes of evidence. The Sheriff says they have interviewed someone since then. Johnson was found in a gym mat inside Lowndes High School gym in 2013.
Kendrick Johnson's family say they are full of hope after they bring a new recording to light with a possible confession. Lowndes County Sheriff's Office is currently working to authenticate that recording and find out the voice on it. WLB News 10's Jennifer Moore-John joins us live now with the very latest details.
Jim, the family spokesperson and KJ's mother say they're not sharing just yet, but for the first time in 8 years, there's hope for justice.
It just took me back to when Kendrick was first killed, when I found out Kendrick was first killed. Like, when you say that shouldn't have happened to Kendrick, you're exactly right. It shouldn't have happened to Kendrick. Kendrick was in school, should have been the safest place that your child can be in. And my son lost his life, but for what?
Jacqueline Johnson, Kendrick's mother, shared how she felt when she first heard the audio recording. The family says they believe it is a confession of the killer. Joined by the family spokesperson Marcus Coleman, they presented the audio recording to Sheriff Ashley Polk.
Today we delivered what we have authenticated. Make sure that's extremely clear. We have authenticated on our end a 25-second audio clip of what I can say right now is what appears to be a Caucasian male admitting to killing Kendrick Johnson.
Coleman says they authenticated the audio before presenting it to the sheriff, making sure it wasn't fake. He says the audio was recorded secretly and sold to the family by who they describe as an alleged family member for $1,000, and it was recorded last weekend.
And I quote, "They're gonna catch me anyways. I should have never done this. I was young and stupid. Kendrick didn't deserve this, man." A couple of seconds go by, and he ends with a very tearful, "They're gonna catch me anyways."
Sheriff Polk tells me it's a great feeling having the new evidence, but hopes someone is not playing a cruel joke on the family. He says verifying the voice and authenticating the recording is doable, and they have equipment that will help. Polk says he'll be asking the GBI for help as well. Sheriff Polk tells me they've already questioned 2 people since the reopening of the case.
Sometimes, somebody that would drive people out, people, even bad people have consciences.
The family believes, and Sheriff Polk confirms, the recording may possibly be of someone already questioned in this investigation.
At any time, you know something in your heart, continue to push. Don't never let nobody stop you from fighting for your child, because your child matters. No matter how the people try to make your child out to be the villain, your child is still the victim.
Sheriff Polk and his team are currently investigating and trying to verify the voice in that audio recording, and for now that audio recording will not be released. In Valdosta, Jennifer Moore-Johns, the AOB News 10.
The father of Kendrick Johnson. We are here today to address the findings of Sheriff Ashley Polk. They said Brian Bell, the target, never crossed paths. I ask you to do your research, to look at the documentary, look at the FBI report. It said they did cross paths.
Investigators say Kendrick's death was a tragic accident, that he climbed onto these rolled gym mats to reach for this shoe at the center of one mat, slipped, got stuck upside down, and died. County officials say the blood in this photo spilled after Kendrick's heart had stopped pumping hours after he had died. But Kendrick's parents say the photo and the video show something else.
There's enough evidence to show that Kendrick was murdered.
CNN has exclusively obtained the 15-minute video and nearly 700 photos of the scene taken by Lowndes County investigators. And for the first time, Kendrick's parents, Kenneth and Jacqueline Johnson, are ready to look at them, including these pictures of orange and black gym shoes investigators found just yards from Kendrick's body.
Did these shoes belong to Kendrick?
No.
When you look at these shoes that were at the scene, what stands out to you?
The blood on the shoe.
But investigators say tests show the stains are something other than blood, so the shoes were not collected as potential evidence.
I don't understand why.
CNN took the photos to independent private investigator and former FBI Special Agent Harold Kopis.
If you were on this scene
would this have been something you would have left?
No. Bag and tag.
There's no indication investigators ever even looked for the owner of the shoes or this hooded sweatshirt found a few feet from Kendrick's body.
And if you look real close, there's something on this particular cuff. And then the question is, was it blood? Did you test it?
According to the crime lab report, no.
They know something happened in that gym, and they don't want it to come out.
For the Johnsons, there's no stronger indicator than this photo. It's of what appears to be blood dripping down a wall. Here's what Lowndes County Lieutenant Stride Jones told CNN about that wall in May.
And we tested it, and it was blood. And we did DNA testing, and it was not the blood of Kendrick Johnson.
If it wasn't Kendrick blood, who blood was it?
Did you ever find out who it was or any involvement?
No, as of now we haven't, no. But it doesn't appear to be related to our crime in any way.
What do you think about the decision not to test it further?
You can't explain it. If you're running the crime scene, then you're going to say that's potential evidence. Obviously, we're going to check this out and find out who does it belong to.
This is an athletic gym. I mean, obviously, this is where they conduct various athletic classes and instructions at.
A kid couldn't have scraped their knee or arm or something and got that much blood on the wall.
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 impacts.
The opinion of our crime scene personnel, after looking at it closely, the blood appeared as it had been there for an extended period of time. It didn't appear to be very fresh.
School gym. There is no way that they would allow whoever was supposed to clean this gym to leave that blood on that wall.
And there's the question, why was there no blood where they expected to see lots of blood? Remember the photo of that shoe investigators say was inches below Kendrick's head? Look at it again.
If he was inside the mat, reaching for that shoe, inside this tube, reaching for the shoe, and the shoe is beneath him, why isn't that shoe covered with blood?
And what do you think about that shoe not being covered with blood?
It was placed there.
Hey, Sheriff Prine. Hi. Victor Blackwell, CNN.
Chris Prine.
The Sheriff's Department has denied a cover-up, but we took the Johnsons' concerns to Lowndes County Sheriff Chris Prine.
Got some questions about the Kendrick Johnson case.
I'm not going to discuss that with you.
Why not, sir?
Because our case is closed.
The family has some concerns about why some things were not taken into evidence. There was blood on the wall.
I'm not going to discuss the case with you.
And why is that?
Because I don't want to.
Then, less than a minute after he'd invited us in,
What did you not understand that I said? I'm through talking to you.
he ushered us out.
Thank you, Sheriff Prine.
I don't believe this was an accident. I think this young man met with foul play.
The Justice Department is reviewing the pictures and the video to decide if it'll launch a federal investigation into Kendrick's death. But for Kendrick's father, the evidence is clear.
Someone murdered him. They should be in jail. They are covering up. They should be in jail.
Victor Blackwell joins us now. So the former FBI agent says that the crime scene was contaminated. How so?
Well, Harold Copa says that it's crime scene 101, that when you're on a scene investigating, you wear the shoe protectors. Those are the blue booties you see on the crime shows on television. Well, look at these pictures. You can see here that these investigators are not wearing the shoe protectors, and it's not so much to protect the scene, rather to protect your shoes, but it's to protect the scene from anything you could track in. And Copa says because they're not wearing those protectors, this scene was obviously contaminated.
And clearly, you tried to talk to the sheriff there. They clearly didn't want to talk. Is there anyone tied to the investigation who is willing to talk?
Well, we went to speak with the superintendent of Lowndes County Schools, Wes Taylor, and we asked him about the blood on the wall and how long it had been there. Also, I mean, if the theory is true that he slipped into these mats after climbing onto the bleacher to get the shoe, are the mats still there? His answer to most of our questions: we are cooperating with the Georgia Bureau of Investigations. He wouldn't go further than that.
You would think someone who works at that school would either be able to say, oh yeah, I remember when a student, bled all over the wall in 6 different places, or not. It would be interesting to hear if they've been talked to. What about the Department of Justice? Where are they in the status of their investigation?
The U.S. Attorney in Macon, who covers this district, his name is Michael Moore, and we've spoken with him several times, and each time he says that he is reviewing the information from the Lowndes County Sheriff's Office, and he is going to work to decide if he will open a criminal investigation. Now, just a few weeks ago, we heard from the Civil Rights Division. They've said that they will not open an investigation through their department, but it still could be opened as a criminal investigation. Michael Moore says he could come up with that decision in a week or in a month. He doesn't feel rushed. He wants to make sure that he gets it right.
The Johnsons point out several things they disagree with in the sheriff's 16-page summary, including results from a third autopsy report and the conclusion students the family suspects were involved never had contact with their son the day he died.
They never crossed paths.
It's gonna come out no matter how much layers they put on top of what happened to Kendrick. It's gonna come out.
One thing we kept hearing over and over again was about this missing FBI report regarding the security tape hard drive and the blacked out footage. So we looked into finding that report to see if we could locate it, and we did. However, the report was heavily redacted. But then we were able to find the unredacted FBI report, and what we discovered blew us away. You see, in the redacted report, you can barely see any of the video frames. Most of the frames are blacked out, and the ones with KJ are barely recognizable. In the unredacted report, we were able to see all the video frames in full color. The report follows KJ, Brian, and Brandon's movement throughout the school for the entire day and records where they were. Not only is this further video evidence that the Bell boys were on campus when KJ went missing, we found something that the FBI clearly didn't want us to see. Let us put them side by side so you can see what we found. Here they are. Can you see something a little odd? Look closely. There appears to be a frame on both pages that matches. How could this be? What tipped us off is KJ's yellow folder. We were going through Brian's movements, and all of a sudden, KJ's folder appeared on screen. That's right. There's a frame on KJ's side and Brian's side that is identical. The boys are standing seemingly right next to each other in the hallway.
Did you see Kendrick that day?
No. I did not.
Seeing the alleged killer of KJ standing next to him in the hallway the day he died in school has sent chills down our spines. How did no one see this frame? How did the FBI let this go? Why did it take 6 years and an independent filmmaker to find this? These are all questions that may never go answered. But what we do know for sure is that we have more facts now than we ever had. And this case needs to be reopened and re-examined with a fine-tooth comb.
This is why we don't trust anything that the sheriff of Valdosta said, that anything ever come out their mouth.
So, the parents of a South Georgia teen found dead inside a high school gym say they're finding new evidence in this case.
A sheriff's investigation determined there was no foul play in Kendrick Johnson's death in 2013, but his parents believe there's a cover-up. Channel 2's Tony Thomas is in Valdosta as the teen's father blasts these new findings.
These windows right here to Lowndes County Sheriff Ashley Polk's office. Just a few feet away today, Kendrick Johnson's parents stood right about here, blasting the sheriff, calling him a liar and part of a massive cover-up. As you look down the road here, do you guys have many other options?
We got many other options. It will be something in the near future happen. It's going to rock this town.
Kenneth Johnson's short on specifics, but very vocal about continuing to push for answers in his son's death. The case, the continued focus of headlines and theories nationwide. You do not believe there's any criminal act?
Do not.
Wednesday, Lowndes County Sheriff Ashley Polk released his findings in a months-long second look into a previous FBI investigation. Polk says evidence shows Johnson climbed into one of these rolled-up wrestling mats inside the Lowndes County High Gym to retrieve some shoes, got stuck, and died. Johnson's parents' thoughts are written on their shirts. Kendrick Johnson didn't roll himself up into no mat.
It goes to show you the cover-up is going on in this town.
The Johnsons point out several things they disagree with in the sheriff's 16-page summary, including results from a third autopsy report and the conclusion students the family suspects were involved never had contact with their son the day he died.
They never crossed paths.
It's gonna come out no matter how much layers they put on top of what happened to Kendrick. It's gonna come out.
And I will fight as long as I have to uncover what exactly happened to Kendrick Johnson.
Kendrick Johnson's parents say they aren't giving up. They hope to find new evidence soon and hope to ignite a new official investigation. In Valdosta, Tony Thomas, Channel 2 Action News. The Johnsons point out several things they disagree with in the sheriff's 16-page summary, including results from a third autopsy report and the conclusion students the family suspects were involved never had contact with their son the day he died.
They never crossed paths. They never crossed paths. They never crossed paths.
In the unredacted report, we were able to see all the video frames in full color. The report follows KJ, Brian, and Brandon's movement throughout the school for the entire day and records where they were. Not only is this further video evidence that the Bell boys were on campus when KJ went missing, we found something that the FBI clearly didn't want us to see. Let us put them side by side so you can see what we found. Here they are. Can you see something a little odd? Look closely. There appears to be a frame on both pages that matches. How could this be? What tipped us off is KJ's yellow folder. We were going through Brian's movements and all of a sudden, KJ's folder appeared on screen. That's right. There's a frame on KJ's side and Brian's side that is identical. The boys are standing seemingly right next to each other in the hallway.
Did you see Kendrick that day?
No. I did not.
Seeing the alleged killer of KJ standing next to him in the hallway the day he died in school has sent chills down our spines. How did no one see this frame? How did the FBI let this go? Why did it take 6 years and an independent filmmaker to find this? These are all questions that may never go answered. But what we do know for sure is that we have more facts now than we ever had. And this case needs to be reopened and re-examined with a fine-tooth comb.
They never crossed paths.
The Johnsons and their supporters now hope the FBI will get an answer to what happened to Kendrick Johnson.
All along, we know it was bullshit. We know it was bullshit.
If KJ had been white, we wouldn't have had to make this film.
I ask you to do your research, to look at the documentary, look at the FBI report. It said they did cross paths.
They never crossed paths.
One thing we kept hearing over and over again was about this missing FBI report regarding the security tape hard drive and the blacked out footage. So we looked into finding that report to see if we could locate it, and we did. However, the report was heavily redacted. But then we were able to find the unredacted FBI report, and what we discovered blew us away. You see, in the redacted report, you can barely see any of the video frames. Most of the frames are blacked out, and the ones with KJ are barely recognizable. In the unredacted report, we were able to see all the video frames in full color. The report follows KJ, Brian, and Brandon's movement throughout the school for the entire day and records where they were. Not only is this further video evidence that the Bell boys were on campus when KJ went missing, We found something that the FBI clearly didn't want us to see. Let us put them side by side so you can see what we found. Here they are. Can you see something a little odd? Look closely. There appears to be a frame on both pages that matches. How could this be? What tipped us off is KJ's yellow folder. We were going through Bryant's movements, and all of a sudden, KJ's folder appeared on screen. That's right. There's a frame on KJ's side and Bryant's side that is identical. The boys are standing seemingly right next to each other in the hallway.
Did you see Kendrick that day?
No. I did not.
Seeing the alleged killer of KJ standing next to him in the hallway the day he died in school has sent chills down our spines. How did no one see this frame? How did the FBI let this go? Why did it take 6 years and an independent filmmaker to find this? These are all questions that may never go answered. But what we do know for sure is that we have more facts now than we ever had. And this case needs to be reopened and re-examined with a fine-tooth comb.
Secondly, I like to make a comment about this is why we don't trust anything that the sheriff of Valdosta said that anything ever come out their mouth.
The Johnsons point out several things they disagree with in the sheriff's 16-page summary, including results from a third autopsy report and the conclusion students the family suspects were involved never had contact with their son the day he died.
They never crossed paths.
It's gonna come out no matter how much layers they put on top of what happened to Kendrick. It's gonna come out.
We're breaking right now. The family of South Georgia teen found dead in a gym mat almost 10 years ago, speaking out against a recent ruling just yesterday that's closing the case. This is the father of Kendrick Johnson. This is Kenneth Johnson. Let's listen in.
The findings what happened to Willie Jane Williams. The same thing that this sheriff department will do again and again if the people do not stand up and fight for what is right and make them do what's right. This is the sheriff department known to cover up. Known to cover up things. When you had Willie Jane Williams laying inside this jailhouse, dying. And this same sheriff allegedly covered up what happened to Willie Jane Williams, and the same thing that he come back and trying to do now. Sheriff, as a Pope, you didn't have anything to do with it, as you say. But the lies you put on this paper made you just a part of the cover-up that conspiracy of what's going on in my son's case. And I will fight as long as I have to uncover what exactly happened to Kendrick Johnson. People, do not take my word for it. Do your research.
So where do you guys go from here? What's your next step?
We keep pushing. We have students who's at the schoolhouse that year. They are reaching out to us. And that's what I want to say to the students. If you have any information, contact the sheriff department. I say to the students, do not go in alone. Do not go in from an attorney around here in Lowndes County. Record everything you say to these people so they won't try to turn it around and make you out of a liar. Send it to the Justice Department.
And this is Kenneth Johnson, the father of Kendrick Johnson, who was found it's been almost a decade now, found rolled up in a gym mat in Lowndes County High School. Yesterday, the sheriff there saying that there was no foul play suspected in this case after going through 17 boxes of evidence in this case. We're going to continue to follow the story for you and have more on CBS 46 News beginning at 3, and we'll also have it on our free streaming app.
The boys are standing seemingly right next to each other in the hallway.
Did you see Kendrick that day?
No. I did not.
Seeing the alleged killer of KJ standing next to him in the hallway the day he died in school has sent chills down our spines. How did no one see this frame? How did the FBI let this go?
It says the third autopsy was done by an Air Force medical examiner. Do your research. That is not true. The third autopsy states blunt force trauma.
In June, Kendrick's body was sent to Florida. The Johnsons hired Dr. Bill Anderson to conduct an independent second autopsy. In that autopsy, Anderson told the Johnsons he found evidence that Kendrick died as the result of a blow to the neck and not accidental asphyxia after slipping into a rolled gym mat at school, as investigators in Georgia had said. It's the second time Jacqueline Johnson cried next to her son Kendrick's grave. The first time he was being lowered into the ground. This time he's being pulled out of it.
Did you ever expect you'd have to exhume his body?
No, I didn't expect to have to bury his body.
In June, Kendrick's body was sent to Florida. The Johnsons hired Dr. Bill Anderson to conduct an independent second autopsy. In that autopsy, Anderson told the Johnsons he found evidence that Kendrick died as the result of a blow to the neck and not accidental asphyxia after slipping into a rolled gym mat at school, as investigators in Georgia had said. But what Dr. Anderson did not find shocked them.
When we got the body for the second autopsy, that organs, the heart, lungs, liver, etc., were not with the body.
The brain?
The brain, they were all absent.
Every organ from the top of Kendrick's head to his pelvis gone, and his family had no idea.
We have been let down again. And when we buried Kendrick, we thought we was burying Kendrick, not half of Kendrick.
I'm not sure at this point who did not return the organs to the body, but I know when we got the body, the organs were not there.
So, CNN contacted the two entities that had custody of Kendrick's body and access to his organs. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation, which conducted the first autopsy in January, and Harrington Funeral Home, which the Johnsons chose to embalm and prepare Kendrick's body for burial days later. A spokeswoman for the state tells CNN after its autopsy, the organs were placed in Johnson's body, the body was closed, then the body was released to the funeral home. State investigators say it's their normal practice, but what happened after his body arrived at the funeral home was anything but normal.
What was in the place of the organs?
Newspaper.
Newspaper. Dr. Anderson showed me the pictures of Kendrick's body he'd taken during the second autopsy.
It's a Black Friday ad, JCPenney ad.
Yes.
Stuffing that newspaper in like he was a garbage can inside his body. It's unbelievable.
I'd imagine that that's a different kind of pain.
Yeah.
Why do you think that there would be newspaper stuffed in your child?
I never heard of that before. Never.
Neither had the founder of a National Embalming Academy contacted by CNN, who said it's not consistent with the standards of care in the industry. Nor had the president of the National Association of Medical Examiners, who told CNN he's never heard of this practice.
Why would the funeral home discard his organs and stuff them with newspaper?
The question is, why did he tell us?
So what exactly did the Harrington Funeral Home do with Kendrick's organs? And why was he stuffed with old newspaper? We went to their office to find out, but their response to us? No comment. However, in a letter to the Johnsons' attorney, Harrington Funeral Home owner Antonio Harrington denies he received Kendrick's organs. He writes in part, his internal organs were destroyed through natural process and henceforth were discarded before the body was sent back to Valdosta. It's another disappointing answer for parents determined to know what happened to their son before and now after his death. And they admit they're struggling.
Unbearable, just about. Only thing that wakes you up in the morning is just to keep pushing.
Victor Blackwell joins us now. This is unbelievable. A newspaper inside this young man's body. I understand there's an investigation into where Kendrick Johnson's organs went and why. What do we know about it?
Anderson, we contacted the Georgia Secretary of State's office because they issued licenses to funeral homes. We wanted to check on the history of Harrington Funeral Home. And when we told them why we were calling, they decided that they too wanted to know where are Kendrick Johnson's organs, and they wanted to know more about this process, this practice of stuffing bodies with newspapers, something that they'd never heard of either.
How was the family's autopsy doctor able to determine the cause of death then?
Yeah, I asked him, if the organs aren't there, how can you determine how Kendrick died? Well, he says that essentially blunt force trauma was not in the organs, it was in the right side jaw, which was actually noted as bruised during the paramedics report on the day he was found. He dissected the jaw, which had not been dissected in the first autopsy, found bleeding under the skin. He dissected the left side as well, did not find the bleeding, and he concluded that that bruising indicated, also with the bleeding, that there was blunt force trauma, that Kendrick took that blow to the neck.
You know, Victor, one thing I hadn't noticed, and actually a viewer who works in gyms noticed and tweeted me about this the other day, was that it looks like all the mats are rolled really tightly, except for the one that Kendrick was found in. That seems to have had a large opening.
It goes to show you the cover-up that is going on in this town. To state that the third autopsy said position asphyxia is very not true. Go and look at the third autopsy and it will show you where the second and third autopsy conflict with the first autopsy.
We would like the Trump administration to review the findings of that investigation, and the reason that we call on behalf of the Trump administration, not only because it is the current administration, but because of his recent comments as it relates to the Department of Justice, because of his recent stance that he has taken as far as the FBI. It is our agreement with this administration that the FBI and Department of Justice and other branches of government definitely have corruption running through them. We see this in the Kendrick Johnson investigation. Something that's also important to note, that since the closing of the investigation, the Johnson family has exhumed their child's remains yet again and performed a third autopsy. The third autopsy confirms the second, which conflicts the first. The first stated positional asphyxia. The second autopsy stated blunt force trauma. And since now the third autopsy states blunt force trauma. Also in the meeting with Mr. and Mrs. Johnson only, not their legal representation or anyone else that they felt should be a part of that meeting, they were told that the second autopsy is the most accurate. I want to make sure this is clear. At that point in time, it was only the positional asphyxiation one, the story that Kendrick crawled into this mat to retrieve a shoe, suffocated and died. We all felt that was bogus and knew it was bogus from Jump Street. At that time, there was a second autopsy which said blunt force trauma to the face of these parents. The federal government clearly stated that the second autopsy is the most accurate, but there is not enough information to point to any individuals or one individual, therefore we must close the case. I mean, hell, they investigated the spokesperson of Subway by the name of Jared for at least 5 years. Kendrick Johnson case was not given that amount of time, and considering the rhetoric that was spewed.
Now to this major development in the case of this student athlete's bizarre death at his high school in Valdosta, Georgia. 17-year-old Kendrick Johnson was found dead, his face battered in this rolled-up gym mat at his high school in January. Police said that Kendrick suffocated trying to grab a shoe, but his parents didn't buy that. They said there is no way that this is a cover-up, that they have the pictures to prove it. And the Justice Department recently confirmed it is taking a second look at the case here. Now we have got word that Johnson's body will be exhumed for a second autopsy. CNN's Victor Blackwell has been all over this story for us. First, want to warn you, you obtained this photo of Kendrick Johnson's face after his death. It is included in your report that we're about to run for you, so just a heads up. Yeah. It is very graphic, so please be advised. Here's the story.
I wish this on no one.
Kenneth and Jacqueline Johnson of Valdosta, Georgia want to know who killed their son. A judge has now given them permission to exhume the body of their child. The Johnsons think the official explanation of how 17-year-old Kendrick Johnson died is a cover-up.
We examined all the alternatives that were presented to us, and the only one that fit the physical evidence and the forensic evidence and the testimonial evidence that we received was this is an accident.
In January, Kendrick was found upside down in a rolled gym mat like these. In statements released by Lowndes County Sheriff's Office, students wrote, "We always leave our shoes inside the mats during class, but to retrieve the shoes, we tilt the mats over and get the shoes from the bottom." This is Kendrick inside the mat. His family's attorney gave us this photo. Detectives think Kendrick reached for a black gym shoe from the top of the 6-foot mat, slipped into the center, and got stuck while no one was around. And a relative says the shoes in this picture are his too. The official cause of death is positional asphyxia. In other words, he was smothered by his own body weight.
Said it was no foul play. He had no bruises, no nothing.
Did you believe that?
No.
And you still don't believe it?
No, I don't.
This picture of Kendrick's face reinforced their suspicions.
As handsome as my son was, then you see him like that, it's crazy.
According to the paramedics report, there was bruising noted to right side jaw, although there was no mention of bruising in the state's autopsy report.
Well, I didn't know what to think.
Coroner Bill Watson was called to the scene 5 hours after detectives had arrived, although Georgia law requires investigators to call the coroner as soon as a body is found.
The body had been moved. The scene, in my opinion, had been compromised.
It's a very time-consuming process to basically work your way from the outside in. Once our investigators got to the deceased, the coroner was contacted immediately.
In May, when we asked Watson about his concerns, he told us that he and the sheriff had taken care of the discrepancy internally.
I really feel he was murdered.
At least 2 students told detectives there'd been a dispute over a girl, and on the day Kendrick's body was found, another student posted on Facebook, "When you start messing the goons, bodies start showing up." And soon after, that Facebook account had been deactivated. Detectives questioned a schoolmate about a Facebook posting, but did not connect him to Kendrick's death. Hundreds have rallied for a federal investigation, and the Department of Justice is reviewing the case.
No matter who you are, how much money your parents have, the color of your skin,
Everyone deserves justice. Everyone.
The sheriff's office stands behind its investigation. Johnson says he won't stop until he finds out who killed his son.
Wow. Victor Blackwell joins me here again. Thank you for staying on the story.
Sure.
And two questions. One, when we saw the photo, you could see his feet and his socks, and those were shoes.
Yes.
Next to his feet.
His shoes, those gray and orange shoes, and that's a question the family asks. If he dove into this mat, how did the shoes end up in the mat after him, next to him? They are mentioned in this report as part of the narrative, but the sheriff's office and the crime lab, they don't mention those shoes as part of the theory of how he died.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What about the Department of Justice case review? Where are we on that?
Well, the U.S. Attorney in Georgia, Michael Moore, has been reviewing this case for a little more than a week now, almost 2 weeks, and he's at the point where he wants to speak with the family. But the family's attorney says, wait a minute, that autopsy you're reviewing, the statements you're reviewing, those reports, they say they have questions about the credibility of those reports. So they now want to speak with those students, get their own statements, and that's part of the reason they want to exhume Kendrick's body, because they want their own forensic pathologist in Florida to conduct an autopsy to find out if there's anything that leads them to an end that he was killed or there was some type of foul play.
Let us know where they go with that. Victor, thank you.
Sure.
We're not asking you to tell, we're not asking anyone to tell any lies to us. Can you wait? Can you hold on a second, just a second, please? The third autopsy here it says the third autopsy also contradict the finding the first autopsy, which the GOJ admitted to us that the second and third autopsy was the most accurate autopsy there was.
Something that's also important to note, that since the closing of the investigation, the Johnson family has exhumed their child's remains yet again and performed a third autopsy. The third autopsy confirms the second, which conflicts the first. The first stated positional asphyxia. The second autopsy stated blunt force trauma. And since now the third autopsy states blunt force trauma. Also in the meeting with Mr. and Mrs. Johnson only, not their legal representation or anyone else that they felt should be a part of that meeting, they were told that the second autopsy is the most accurate. I want to make sure this is clear. At that point in time, it was only the positional asphyxiation one, the story that Kendrick crawled into this mat to retrieve a shoe, suffocated and died. We all felt that was bogus and knew it was bogus from Jump Street. At that time, there was a second autopsy which said blunt force trauma to the face of these parents. The federal government clearly stated that the second autopsy is the most accurate, but there is not enough information to point to any individuals or one individual, therefore we must close the case.
Greetings, I'm George Boston RHYNES here to GETTO Free Press in front of the Lowndes County Judicial Complex. There will be a press conference here concerning the KJ case. Many of you are familiar with that case. A young man that was found dead in the Lowndes County High School, and I was informed last night that there would be a press conference, so I made my way back here to record this particular press conference. I was told 11 o'clock, but I do see that news media, Channel 10 and another TV station is on their way. But this is the George Boston RHYNES. I started this GETTO Free Press social news media some time ago, and we report what others ignore. You have a right to know, and I may go live and I may not, but I'm asking you that if I do go live, just stay on Facebook here. I got my camera set up inside. But I do believe that if you are in Valdosta and Lowndes County, then you may just want to come on down to the Lowndes County Courthouse. That's a new courthouse. So you can see what's going on here. As you know, they did the third autopsy. I was looking for CNN, MSNBC, Nightline, Dateline, and others to cover this particular case so they could update the people on this very controversial death that took place here in Titletown, USA.
Oh, Jackie.
We know a lot of people talk about God and
Jackie, my name's Emma. We work at WCTV. I just wanted to give you my contact information. If you ever need anything, I'm happy to be there. Don't hesitate to call.
Can you taking care of it? Oh yeah, this is another one, so I just keep.
Yeah. Did you make it for yourself, or did someone make it for you? That's really thoughtful. It seems like you have a lot of support behind you. Yeah. Okay, so kind of where I wanted to start was maybe from the beginning and just how painful it was for you when you found out that it was your baby boy that, someone that was found in that mat.
It's very painful to know that my child died at a place that he should have been the safest, one of the safest places. It's literally taken a toll on me mentally, physically, and also my family.
Mm-hmm. And kind of how has this journey been, having to exhume him, go through a third autopsy, and just this uphill battle that it seems like you've been fighting for so long?
It felt like I've had 3 different funerals. And the hard part is not bringing him up, it's the hard part is letting him go again.
Mm-hmm. When this last autopsy kind of did again solidify what you had thought all along, what emotions went through you when you found or read those results?
Pretty much the same one, because we know from day one Kendrick was murdered at that school. And to see his pictures of his face disfigured, you couldn't tell me. I sent my son to school looking like the first picture, and he comes out looking like the second picture. There's no way in the world you could tell me a mat beat my child up. I have a baby that had that same bruising like what he had, a stillborn. So I know the difference between ridomorphin and the difference between a mat, and a mat can't beat you up. A mat can't bruise you up, swell your lip up, and all how they want to make it look like.
So I guess moving forward, what are you hoping kind of happens within this next step?
Well, the next step, I'm just hoping that it's time for somebody to be held accountable for what happened to my son. The next step, I'm hoping that they reopen his case.
Mm-hmm. And seeing that you have support that not only reaches through your friends and friends of friends, but into other counties, how is it to know that you're not alone in this fight?
It feels good to know that somebody is standing with me, because it seemed like so many times that our family has been alone, but we're going to continue to fight regardless of who's there. If it's just me or Mr. Johnson or my mom or just some family members, we appreciate what everybody doing, but we're, at the end of the day, we're his parents, and if we don't fight, who's going to fight?
Why do you keep fighting? Why do you keep pushing and trying to find these answers?
Because it's my son. First of all, that's my son. I birthed him. I'm his mother, and he deserved justice. He didn't deserve to die at all.
When, hearing the next step, we're kind of moving forward, what kind of goes through your mind when you hear, that another action's being taken?
You kind of just sit back and just wait to see what the outcome is going to be, been knocked down so many times. Hey, another blow ain't gonna hurt. You just keep getting back up and fight, punch right back.
Seeing the community support, I mean, this case has been on everyone's minds in Lowndes County. What do you kind of want people to know?
Just that Kendrick lives matter, and who support us, we thank you for it. But if you don't, it's okay too, because we're going to continue to fight. We're not going nowhere. We're going to keep agitating them, and that's just Kendrick parents. We're going to continue to do what we got to do for our child.
Has this changed your perspective on Lowndes High School? And
yes, I mean, a school, that school system had treated my son like he was not even human. So yes, that school system is just, it's not even a word to describe it, how it is. It's all about football. It don't matter about your child. Well, it didn't matter about my child.
I have one. People have called me and asked, how can I help that family? Do you have anything set up that will be for the good, of the people that are concerned and want to actually contribute to the cause?
Well, we have a GoFundMe online, and you can help by continue to share Kendrick's story, tell somebody about Kendrick. It's however, speak out, let the people know. We're calling for action now. Stand behind our family.
Okay. Do you have, I guess I can get the GoFundMe account from you afterwards. I can share that as well. But other than that, I think that was very brave of you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
What is one of your favorite memories of your son?
Him coming in from football practice, going in to get in the shower, and he stayed in the shower for about 3 hours just saying out loud.
The initial crime lab report that was released on January 25th said no signs of blunt force trauma. You had a private pathologist, at your request, look at him again and to see, and what they were able to find in the second autopsy, that his organs were missing, that he was stuffed with newspaper, and that he died of unexplained apparent non-accidental blunt force trauma, a blow to the right side of the neck. How does that kind of information sit with you all?
It doesn't. It's just something hard, and we just got to deal with it until we get justice for Kendrick. It's very hard. It's not day by day. That's the only way we can take it. It's just really hard to wake up in the morning. And Kendrick's not there. We used to him being there.
You're hoping for another investigation to be open, but right now the case is closed. Where does it stand? Is anyone being held accountable? Is anybody going after anyone for this after the second autopsy report? Where does that all stand?
Attorney King filed a pleading asking for a coroner's inquest on just yesterday to get the manner and the cause of death amended from accident to what we believe it really was, a homicide. Also, previously he filed a pleading to get the video surveillance tape to be released to this family so they can have the answers of what happened the last moments of his life.
Yeah, because the high school's lawyer, right, is saying that the surveillance video shows other teens were inside that gym. So that opens up so many more questions, doesn't it? And the fact, too, that I know just reading all of this, that it's been already ruled that it has nothing to do with it, but there were sneakers found inside the gym, blood smeared on the wall that was said that wasn't a match for Kendrick. What do you make of that? You're an attorney.
Well, again, Attorney King has been digging at this, getting all the answers the questions to the answers to lead to this real life murder mystery. Because at the end of the day, Natasha, these parents sent their child to school for a book bag. He was returned to them the next day with a body bag. And as Attorney King said, there's a eyewitness account. It's that surveillance video. Release this video and let this family get answers to why their child isn't here.
Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, what do you think happened to your son? Did he have any enemies? And you describe him as a polite child, that everybody loved him. What do you think really happened?
Well, we know something happened. You know, we just don't know what. And that's what we are in the midst of trying to find out exactly what happened. You know, going to school, being a good child, you know, we just don't understand, you know, why this happened, and we just want answers.
Did he have any enemies that you knew of? Did he ever talk about anyone being after him, anything like that? Not to put words into your mouth?
No, not being after him, but I say everybody got enemies, so.
Well, I hope you get the answers that you're looking for. Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, thank you. I'm so sorry for your loss, Mr. Benjamin Crown. And Mr. Shaveen King, thank you.
What happened to this teenage boy walking through this school gym? He's captured here on surveillance camera, then disappears until...
From the lounge lights going out, there's a dead body out here.
17-year-old Kendrick Johnson was found upside down in a rolled gym mat last January. Investigators say he was reaching for a shoe, got stuck, and died.
We have found nothing to indicate this was anything other than just a tragic accident.
You can tell he was beaten.
Kendrick's parents believe the story about the shoe is a cover-up, and they question why sheriff's investigators either did not collect or test potential evidence from the scene.
Got some questions about the Kendrick Johnson case.
I'm not going to discuss that with you.
Why not, sir?
Because our case is closed.
Kendrick's body was exhumed. His parents paid for an independent autopsy, and the pathologist found evidence of apparent non-accidental blunt force trauma to the neck.
Did you see Kendrick that day?
No. I did not.
Seeing the alleged killer of KJ standing next to him in the hallway the day he died in school has sent chills down our spines. How did no one see this frame? How did the FBI let this go?
And the findings of the third autopsy, it said that their revealed blunt force trauma was found in Johnson's right chest. It made you think that Polk said the third autopsy was accidental blunt force, he said that it was what did he say? I got it here, I'm sorry. And actually Paul findings, they say third autopsy was performed by the Office of Armed Air Force Medical Examiner. The initial report, August 2014. August 25th. It listed the cause of death as position of fixture and the manner of death accidental. That is not true. Look at the third autopsy, people. Do your own research. The third autopsy was done by Dr. Anderson. It was the third autopsy contradicts the findings of the first autopsy, which determined the cause of death as position of fixture. The findings in the autopsy done by forensics that the reveal of blunt force trauma was found. And that contradicts everything Sheriff Falk said about the third autopsy. Do your research, people. Do not believe anything that this sheriff department tell you, because it is known that they would not tell the truth about what happened.
Did you ever expect you'd have to exhume his body?
No, I didn't expect to have to bury his body.
In June, Kendrick's body was sent to Florida. The Johnsons hired Dr. Bill Anderson to conduct an independent second autopsy. In that autopsy, Anderson told the Johnsons he found evidence that Kendrick died as the result of a blow to the neck and not accidental asphyxia after slipping into a rolled gym mat at school, as investigators in Georgia had said.
Inside the FBI report, it shows you where Kendrick and Bryant crossed paths. Now they are saying the Bells left an hour before Kendrick was last seen. First, they stated they left that morning. Then they left at noon. Now they left an hour before Kendrick was last seen. You can't keep changing the time of when they crossed paths. You got an FBI report showing you when they cross paths with each other.
Everybody who sees this case believes that there's something awfully suspicious about what happened to Kendrick Johnson. They do not accept the sheriff's conclusion that he climbed into a wrestling mat, got stuck and died. And now, with the release of these videos, it raises even more questions, because out of 36 videos, 36 angles, only one of them is distorted, one of them is blurry, and that is the one that was facing the corner where the wrestling mat with Kendrick Johnson's dead body inside it. And that's the only one that's corrupted.
The investigators say Kendrick's death was a tragic accident, that he climbed onto these rolled gym mats to reach for this shoe at the center of one mat, slipped, got stuck upside down, and died. County officials say the blood in this photo spilled after Kendrick's heart had stopped pumping hours after he had died. But Kendrick's parents say the photo and the video show something else.
There's enough evidence to show that Kendrick was murdered.
CNN has exclusively obtained the 15-minute video and nearly 700 photos of the scene taken by Lowndes County investigators. And for the first time, Kendrick's parents, Kenneth and Jacqueline Johnson, are ready to look at them, including these pictures of orange and black gym shoes investigators found just yards from Kendrick's body.
Did these shoes belong to Kendrick?
No.
When you look at these shoes that were at the scene, what stands out to you?
The blood on the shoe.
But investigators say tests show the stains are something other than blood, so the shoes were not collected as potential evidence.
I don't understand why.
CNN took the photos to independent private investigator and former FBI Special Agent Harold Kopis.
If you were on this scene, would this have been something you would have left?
No. Bag and tag.
There's no indication investigators ever even looked for the owner of the shoes or this hooded sweatshirt found a few feet from Kendrick's body.
And if you look real close, there's something on this particular cuff. And then the question is, was it blood? Did you test it?
According to the crime lab report, no.
They know something happened in that gym, and they don't want it to come out.
For the Johnsons, there's no stronger indicator than this photo. It's of what appears to be blood dripping down a wall. Here's what Lowndes County Lieutenant Stride Jones told CNN about that wall in May.
And we tested it, and it was blood. Now, we did DNA testing, and it was not the blood of Kendrick Johnson.
If it wasn't Kendrick blood, who blood was it?
Did you ever find out who it was or any involved?
No, as of now, we haven't, no. But it doesn't appear to be related to our crime in any way.
What do you think about the decision not to test it further?
You can't explain it. If you're running the crime scene, then you're going to say that's potential evidence. Obviously, we're going to check this out and find out who does it belong to.
This is an athletic gym. I mean, obviously, this is where they conduct various athletic classes and instructions at.
A kid couldn't have scraped their knee or arm or something and got that much blood on the wall.
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 impacts.
The opinion of our crime scene personnel, after looking at it closely, the blood appeared as if it had been there for an extended period of time. It didn't appear to be very fresh.
School gym. There is no way that they would allow whoever was supposed to clean this gym to leave that blood on that wall.
And there's the question, why was there no blood where they expected to see lots of blood? Remember the photo of that shoe investigators say was inches below Kendrick's head? Look at it again.
If he was inside the mat, reaching for that shoe, inside this tube, reaching for the shoe, and the shoe is beneath him, why isn't that shoe covered with blood?
And what do you think about that shoe not being covered with blood?
It was placed there.
Hey, Sheriff Prine. Hi. Victor Blackwell, CNN.
Chris Prine.
The Sheriff's Department has denied a cover-up, but we took the Johnsons' concerns to Lowndes County Sheriff Chris Prine.
Got some questions about the Kendrick Johnson case.
I won't discuss that with you.
Why not, sir?
Because our case is closed.
The family has some concerns about why some things were not taken into evidence. There was blood on the wall.
I won't discuss the case with you.
And why is that?
Because I don't want to.
Then, less than a minute after he'd invited us in,
What did you not understand that I said? I'm through talking to you.
He ushered us out.
Thank you, Sheriff Prine.
I don't believe this was an accident. I think this young man met with foul play.
The Justice Department is reviewing the pictures and the video to decide if it'll launch a federal investigation into Kendrick's death. But for Kendrick's father, the evidence is clear.
Someone murdered him. They should be in jail. They are covering it up. They should be in jail.
Victor Blackwell joins us now. So the former FBI agent says that the crime scene was contaminated. How so?
Well, Harold Copa says that it's crime scene 101, that when you're on a scene investigating, you wear the shoe protectors. Those are the blue booties you see on the crime shows on television. Well, look at these pictures. You can see here that these investigators are not wearing the shoe protectors, and it's not so much to protect the scene, rather to protect your shoes, but it's to protect the scene from anything you could track in. And Copa says because they're not wearing those protectors, this scene was obviously contaminated.
And clearly, you tried to talk to the sheriff there. They clearly didn't want to talk. Is there anyone tied to the investigation who is willing to talk?
Well, we went to speak with the superintendent of Lowndes County Schools, Wes Taylor, and we asked him about the blood on the wall and how long it had been there. Also, I mean, if the theory is true that he slipped into these mats after climbing onto the bleacher to get the shoe, are the mats still there? His answer to most of our questions: we are cooperating with the Georgia Bureau of Investigations. He wouldn't go further than that.
You would think someone who works at that school would either be able to say, oh yeah, I remember when a student, bled all over the wall in 6 different places, or not. It would be interesting to hear if they've been talked to. What about the Department of Justice? Where are they in the status of their investigation?
The U.S. Attorney in Macon, who covers this district, his name is Michael Moore, and we've spoken with him several times, and each time he says that he is reviewing the information from the Lowndes County Sheriff's Office, and he is going to work to decide if he will open a criminal investigation. Now, just a few weeks ago, we heard from the Civil Rights Division. They've said that they will not open an investigation through their department, but it still could be opened as a criminal investigation. Michael Moore says he could come up with that decision in a week or in a month. He doesn't feel rushed. He wants to make sure that he gets it right.
Not only is this further video evidence that the Bell boys were on campus when KJ went missing, we found something that the FBI clearly didn't want us to see. Let us put them side by side so you can see what we found. Here they are. Can you see something a little odd? Look closely. There appears to be a frame on both pages that matches. How could this be? What tipped us off is KJ's yellow folder. We were going through Bryant's movements, and all of a sudden, KJ's folder appeared on screen. That's right. There's a frame on KJ's side and Bryant's side that is identical. The boys are standing seemingly right next to each other in the hallway.
And then it's just like a slap in the face. It's like the father, Rick Bell, said. When he said in his deposition, how many times that Kendrick was over to their house, which we know that was a lie. And then now the sheriff want to say that Kendrick and Bryant later did a project together, which is a bald-faced lie. Kendrick, after the fight on the bus, they did not have any communication with one another.
I'm going to ask my photographer to push in tight on your face.
Okay.
Our viewers can read your expression. Did you have anything to do with the death of Kendrick Johnson?
No. He was like one of my good friends.
Even at the time of his death?
Even at the time of his death.
You know, every word we broadcast of this is going to be scrutinized by the blogosphere, the Twitter sphere, and so on.
Yes, sir. It should be. And I want everybody to know the truth. And, I mean, they can ridicule me and they can say whatever they want, but in the end, the truth will prevail. And everybody will find that me and my brother have been innocent and always will be innocent.
Now, a Channel 2 Action News investigation into the mystery surrounding the death of a Valdosta teenager found in an upright gym mat at school. Two young men at the focus of the Kendrick Johnson controversy have declined to talk to investigators, a grand jury, and an on-camera interview until now. Channel 2 investigative reporter Mark Winnie live outside FBI headquarters in DeKalb County with these exclusive interviews. Mark?
And at last check, this case remained a focus of federal investigation. But we are outside the FBI's Atlanta field office because that is where we're told Agent Rick Bell was assigned, and both his sons are the subject of target letters from a federal prosecutor. And now we hear from them at last.
I'm going to ask my photographer to push in tight on your face.
Okay.
Our viewers can read your expression. Did you have anything to do with the death of Kendrick Johnson?
No. He was like one of my good friends.
Even at the time of his death?
Even at the time of his death.
You know, every word we broadcast of this is going to be scrutinized by the blogosphere, the Twitter sphere, and so on.
Yes, sir. It should be. And I want everybody to know the truth. And, I mean, they can ridicule me and they can say whatever they want, but in the end, the truth will prevail. And everybody will find that me and my brother have been innocent and always will be innocent.
We've just heard what family attorneys acknowledge. Sheriff's deputies, the GBI, and a federal grand jury have not heard. Brothers Brian and Brandon Bell answering questions, no holds barred, about the mysterious death of Kendrick Johnson in 2013.
He was the laughter of our house. He was the joy of our house. And he gives us strength to keep fighting.
The Lowndes County Sheriff says after a thorough investigation, his office agrees with the state medical examiner that Johnson's death was an accident due to positional asphyxia, that he wedged himself in a rolled-up gym mat trying to reach a shoe and could not get out. Kendrick Johnson's mom takes issue with that.
Are you more convinced today than ever that KJ was a victim of foul play?
Yes.
And with some of what the Bells say.
No, they weren't friends.
And in a lawsuit, Johnson's parents allege a group, including the Bell brothers, sons of an FBI agent, violently assaulted their son, leading to his death.
None of the allegations that were made were without research.
But both Bells maintain they have rock-solid alibis.
Did you see Kendrick Johnson?
No, sir, not at any point during that day.
Where were you?
I was in class. First block, second block, third block, and fourth block.
Close to the gym?
No.
Did you see Kendrick that day?
No. I did not.
The suit suggests the brothers sought revenge for a brief fight between Brian and Kendrick on a team bus.
The year before,
What was that about?
So I can't even remember. I mean, it was so small to us, it was ridiculous.
Your brother had a football scholarship offered to FSU.
Yes, sir, he did.
They pulled it back.
On signing day.
So how low did you get?
To the lowest. The lowest you can go.
Letters from the Macon U.S. Attorney's Office suggest both Bells are targets of grand jury investigation. The letters suggest possible civil rights violations.
My objective is to only get justice for my son.
Have you prayed for the Johnsons?
Yes, sir. I have. I hope that they found justice, and I hope that they do find out the truth about their son.
I pray for the truth to come out about what happened to my son.
Now, there's lots more. These interviews were extensive. No lawyers present, no parents present. We plan to have a lot of all new excerpts coming up on Channel 2 Action News at 6, including both Bell brothers talking about federal search warrants executed at their residences in recent weeks and what searchers may have been after. For now, I'm live outside FBI Atlanta headquarters in DeKalb County. Mark Winnie, Channel 2 Action News.
From these interviews that you obtained, Mark, to some of the details in the case, so much in here is unusual, to say the least. And right now on our Facebook page, we've posted a link to Mark's story. Click on it to get interviews with these brothers, their mother, and the mother of Kendrick Johnson.
And for this sheriff department to continuously tell lies, it's right here in its documents. Read the third autopsy report, people. Don't take my word for it. Read the third autopsy report. It doesn't state what he said.
Huddled around a portable television on the South Georgia street corner where they've staged an 8-month sit-in, the family of Kendrick Johnson watched the announcement they've been waiting for.
I am of the opinion that a sufficient basis exists for my office to conduct a formal review of the facts and investigation surrounding the death of Kendrick Johnson.
It's the second big victory for Kendrick's family. On Wednesday, a judge ordered Lowndes County Sheriff's Office to hand over its full investigative file, including the surveillance video from inside the gym where Kendrick died. Barbara English is Kendrick's grandmother.
I'm so happy, and I know we trust in the Lord, and we just hadn't been down here rallying for 32 weeks for nothing.
U.S. Attorney Michael Moore has called in the FBI to assist his office's investigation and to get answers to several basic questions in the teen's January death.
First, what was the cause of Mr. Johnson's death? Second, was Mr. Johnson's death the result of a crime? Third, if Mr. Johnson's death was the result of a crime, who committed that crime?
Kendrick's parents never believed the local sheriff's explanation that Kendrick suffocated after squeezing his 19-inch shoulders into the 14.5-inch center of a rolled gym mat to reach for a shoe in the middle of a school day. Kenneth and Jacqueline Johnson and their attorney spoke with CNN's Wolf Blitzer moments after the announcement.
I believe, indeed, that he was murdered.
Do you have any idea who may have murdered him?
No, I don't. That's what we want to get down to the truth.
The only question we want to know is why are they covering up for whoever killed their son?
Questions about the sheriff's office's investigation have made the Johnsons suspicious, including why these shoes found yards from Kendrick's body were not collected as evidence, and how this blood stain ended up on this wall in the gym, and why investigators never found whose blood it was. And questions have also lingered about the state's autopsy. The official cause of death was positional asphyxia. Kendrick was suffocated by his own body weight, but a second autopsy, paid for by the Johnsons, found Kendrick died as the result of unexplained, apparent non-accidental blunt force trauma, a blow to the neck.
What do we want?
Hundreds have rallied for months for answers, and Moore says he's received calls from many of the Johnson supporters.
I appreciate the depth of those concerns, but at this time, what we need are people with facts and knowledge of the circumstances surrounding Mr. Johnson's death to present those to us.
In a statement to CNN, the attorney for the Lowndes County Sheriff's Office writes in part, while Sheriff Prine has every confidence that his officer's investigation was handled with the necessary diligence to assure that all leads were examined and exhausted, he welcomes the U.S. Attorney's further review of the case.
Justice for KJ is coming!
Kendrick's family is grateful for the investigation, but they call it a stepping stone. They say their push for answers will continue.
Got to continue to fight on. Till justice is done for KJ.
An Air Force armed medical examiner, I have no clue who in the hell he is talking about because I was there. Don't take Dr. Anderson's word for it. Sheriff Ashley Polk, do not take Dr. Anderson's word for it. Look at the evidence. Something y'all have not done. Look at the evidence. Look at the findings. Don't take his word for it. Look at it. Something Dr. Kraft doesn't have any proof of what she said.
Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, you've been showing a photo of your son's face showing these injuries, and I would like to show that photo to our viewers with your permission. I know that it is graphic, but you have shown it before. And Mr. Johnson, you mentioned that you knew from the very beginning that something was wrong because of that photo that you saw. Would it be okay for me to show that photo to our viewers?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, so our viewers, please be warned that this is a very graphic photo, but important in this case. Now it's clear, I think, for anyone seeing this very graphic photo, that this cannot possibly have resulted from someone just falling into a mat. And so I think that begs the question then, what really happened here and why the stonewalling? And Ben Crump, you and I know each other now pretty well after the Trayvon Martin case, and you are, I think at this point, our country's preeminent civil rights lawyer. Is this a civil rights case? Is that why you are involved here? Has race played a factor here?
Well, I think it's a civil rights case, but not in the traditional way when we think of civil rights based on race, even though that may be a factor. Sonny, I think Kendrick Johnson's civil rights were violated because, like every American, he had the right to due process to get the full prosecution of the law, the proper investigation into his tragic death. These parents sent their child to school with a book bag, and he was returned to them the next day in a body bag. And the sheriff offers the explanation that he climbed in a wrestling mat and got stuck and stopped breathing. It defies all logic, laws of physics, and common sense. They have a right to know what happened to their child. It's every parent's worst nightmare who send their children off to school every day thinking they will return. And at least if they don't return, that the government officials will tell them what happened to their child. Their child was murdered, and it is being covered up for some reason that the Johnsons or nobody understands.
One thing we kept hearing over and over again was about this missing FBI report regarding the security tape hard drive and the blacked out footage. So we looked into finding that report to see if we could locate it, and we did. However, the report was heavily redacted. But then we were able to find the unredacted FBI report, and what we discovered blew us away. You see, in the redacted report, you can barely see any of the video frames. Most of the frames are blacked out, and the ones with KJ are barely recognizable. In the unredacted report, we were able to see all the video frames in full color. The report follows KJ, Brian, and Brandon's movement throughout the school for the entire day and records where they were. Not only is this further video evidence that the Bell boys were on campus when KJ went missing, we found something that the FBI clearly didn't want us to see. Let us put them side by side so you can see what we found. Here they are. Can you see something a little odd? Look closely. There appears to be a frame on both pages that matches. How could this be? What tipped us off is KJ's yellow folder. We were going through Brian's movements, and all of a sudden, KJ's folder appeared on screen. That's right. There's a frame on KJ's side and Brian's side that is identical. The boys are standing seemingly right next to each other in the hallway.
Did you see Kendrick that day?
No. I did not.
Seeing the alleged killer of KJ standing next to him in the hallway the day he died in school has sent chills down our spines. How did no one see this frame? How did the FBI let this go? Why did it take 6 years and an independent filmmaker to find this? These are all questions that may never go answered. But what we do know for sure is that we have more facts now than we ever had. And this case needs to be reopened and re-examined with a fine-tooth comb.
The Justice Department says this. She has no proof of how Kendrick died. And it says in the Sheriff's Office report, People, like I said, do your research. It said in Sheriff Ashley Park report that the Kendrick feet was sticking well out the mat. Do your research. The young lady says she looked down inside the mat and seen Kendrick. Do your research, people, to show you that you cannot believe what the sheriff department say. He is a known liar.
An autopsy report obtained exclusively by CNN is fueling calls for a new investigation into the death of a Georgia teenager, Kendrick Johnson, last January. Authorities at the time ruled it an accident, but to Kendrick's parents, that never made sense for a number of reasons, starting with the fact that Kendrick's body was found inside a rolled-up wrestling mat in his high school gym. Now, a second independent autopsy paid for by Kendrick's parents says his death was not an accident at all. Victor Blackwell has been following the story for months, and we want to warn you, in his report there is a photo of Kendrick taken after his death, and it may be disturbing to some viewers. Here's Victor's report.
Kendrick Johnson was a high school three-sport star in the South Georgia town of Valdosta.
He played football, basketball, and ran track.
Good at all of them?
Good at all of them.
So when 17-year-old Kendrick was not at the basketball game on January 10th and then did not come home, his parents, Kenneth and Jacqueline Johnson, knew something was wrong.
Come to Lowndes High School now. There's a dead body out here.
Okay, where at, sir?
Lowndes High School in the old gym.
That body was Kendrick. This is a photo of him. He was found the next morning upside down in the center of a rolled 6-foot wrestling mat.
I just got weak, nervous.
Investigators believe Kendrick got stuck in the mat while reaching for this shoe that had fallen into the center of that mat. Lieutenant Stride Jones is with the Lowndes County Sheriff's Office.
We examined all the alternatives that were presented to us, and the only one that fit the physical evidence and the forensic evidence and the testimonial evidence that we received was this is an accident.
But it didn't add up for Kendrick's family, and this picture of Kendrick only served to fuel their concerns.
As handsome as my son was, then you see him like that, it's crazy. I really feel that he was murdered.
The photo has gone viral online, shared thousands of times through social media. Crowds packed this small southern town demanding answers. In May, they got them. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation confirmed the sheriff's theory. Cause of death, positional asphyxia. Simply, the state said Kendrick was smothered by his own body weight. No significant injuries.
Said it was no foul play. He had no bruises, no nothing.
Did you believe that?
No.
And you still don't believe it?
No, I don't.
In June, at his parents' request, Kendrick's body was exhumed and taken to Florida for a second independent autopsy. This time, the findings were dramatically different. The report, obtained exclusively by CNN, cites the cause of death as unexplained, apparent, non-accidental blunt force trauma. Blows to the neck, not an accident. Despite the new report, the state and local authorities stand behind their findings. Supporters for Kendrick's family are calling for a Department of Justice investigation. And Kenneth Johnson says he will not stop until he finds the person who killed his son.
No matter who you are, how much money your parents have, the color of your skin, everyone deserves justice. Everyone.
Well, Victor Blackwell joins me now. It's not just the Johnsons who are questioning the investigation. The Lowndes County coroner says the scene was compromised. How so?
Well, first, Anderson, the coroner, Bill Watson, says that law in Georgia is that the coroner is to be called immediately once a body is found. We checked, and that's true. Kendrick's body was found at about 10 a.m. He was called at about 2:45, and he says that once he arrived, the body had been moved. Now, the sheriff's office says that they did nothing wrong on that scene. We also received an email from him a few days after our interview on camera in which he told us that. I want to put up part of the email, Anderson, and he writes in that email, "I would appreciate it if you would destroy this interview with me. I do not want this to be shown whatsoever. I feel that our situation should not be aired." Now, we have aired that interview here on CNN, and of course that request only fueled the skepticism from the Johnsons and their supporters.
Just like the case, he allegedly covered up the findings what happened to Willie Jane Williams. The same thing that this sheriff Department will do again and again if the people do not stand up and fight for what is right and make them do what's right. This is the Sheriff Department known to cover up. Known to cover up things. When you had Willie James Williams laying inside this jailhouse, dying.
James. Is that your name?
In addition, Williams was in violation of parole as a habitual traffic violator. A search of the car undertaken later turned up a loaded handgun and a loaded shotgun. It was never revealed to whom these guns were registered, nor is it known whether Williams knew the guns were even there. Farmer placed Williams under arrest. "30 hours later, Williams was dead. What went wrong? Newspaper reports quoted Sheriff Ashley Polk as saying that Williams died as the result of injuries sustained in a fall. He also said that Williams had resisted arrest, necessitating the use of force. This seemed to placate Valdosta's white community, much of which resides on the north side of town. But it was a different story on the south side. Mr. Williams was the third African-American man to die under questionable circumstances while in the custody of Lowndes County Sheriff's Department since Sheriff Ashley Polk took office in 1993. In addition, a recently dismissed prison guard, Mr. Larry McDougall, was reporting that violence at Polk's jail was commonplace, that in fact he had been fired for not participating in the beating of inmate Avery Woods on August 24, 1998, 1 week before the death of Willie James Williams.
Good evening. My name is Larry McDougall. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the incident that happened August 24. Inmate that we had at the Lowndes County Jail. His name was Adrian Woods. It was about 5:30 in the morning. I was in the process of feeding. We got a call from dispatch. Said they had someone just assaulted the sheriff. Okay? He told us to lock the jail down and everybody meet up at the salad port. When I got to the salad port, there was 3 white male officers that was putting on the black gloves. And I knew that what that was going to be. A few minutes later, the car pulled up. They pulled up in the salad port. The supervisor of that ship went up to the back door, snatched the door open, and drug Adrian Woods out the back seat and slammed him to the ground. He was handcuffed behind the back. He had leg irons on. And once he hit the ground, 3 other officers jumped on him. They had one on the right side was kneeing him in the side. They had one on the left hitting him in the side. They had one behind him hitting him in the butt. And they had one at the head, which was the supervisor, slapping him in his head. And they beat him there for a while. They picked him up and they dragged him into the salad port. And they threw him back down and repeated the same thing. And he said, at this time, Mr. Wood didn't resist. He didn't make no motion to fight back or anything. He was handcuffed from behind him. He said, well, let me take these handcuffs off and see if we have any more fight left in him. He wasn't fighting in the beginning. So he took the handcuffs off him slammed him up against the wall. He was on the wall like a fly, spread eagles. The supervisor, he was the sergeant, supervisor of the ship. He reached from behind, grabbed his private area, and went to pulling and twisting it. And when he turned loose, Mr. Woods said a cuss word. Supervisor of the ship returned, grabbed his groin area again, and went to pulling and twisting it. And he said, take him down to the hole. So they grabbed him up, had his arm back in the open position, like his shoulder blade was about to touch. Had his arm bent back so far. So as they were taking him down the hallway, we had two metal gates, and we had a glass door. They got about 2 or 3 feet from that glass door, and they took off running, and Mr. Woods' head hit that glass head on. The glass shattered, the whole glass shattered. He fell out. I said, oh, Lord. I thought the man was dead.
Sheriff Polk refuted McDougal's charge.
When Avery Woods came into the jail, Avery Woods cracked through my ribs early that morning. He assaulted me. Avery Woods came into the jail escorted by a black sergeant. Avery Woods is a black man. Avery Woods came in and wound up assaulting John Dixon. Larry McDougal stood there and failed to assist. He's a sworn peace officer. If John Dixon was beating Avery Woods, he violated his oath of office by not helping him. If Avery Woods was beating John Dixon, he violated by not assisting him at all. And then it went on to straight talk, like Park Post, to all these reliable sources that y'all have gotten. Went on to say that Avery Woods was taken down the hall and his head ran through a glass. You heard that? Okay. Avery Woods had about as much hair as I've got. And if you can ram my head through that glass and not get a scratch on me, that's a pretty neat trick. Avery Woods did run down the hall, broke loose from him, and he did break the glass with his elbow.
A jail booking tape was produced, but all of the action takes place out of camera range. What scenes accompany the shouts and other noises on the tape can only be guessed at. Sheriff Polk also steadfastly denied that wrongdoing had occurred in the other cases. and he categorically rejected the accusation that justice was dispensed arbitrarily in Lowndes County.
My oath of office, the last 4 words, so help me God. That's pretty serious. I have no problem with convicting anybody. I said my mother just she broke the law. And a lot of people realize I said 2 deputies just federal prison last year.
In fact, Polk was honored as Sheriff of the Year by the Georgia Sheriff's Association in August of 1998, just days before the death of Willie James Williams. According to press reports, he was cited for his charitable contributions to the Georgia Sheriff's Boys Ranch and for his department's drug interdiction program, which had generated 97% of his office's budget the preceding year by way of revenue from drug seizures. The vice president of the Sheriff's Association called him one of the most progressive, professional sheriffs in the entire Southeast. Yet for every positive word about his administration, there were troubling testimonies about draconian jail conditions, ad hoc criminal procedure, and cronyism. Al Parsons is the editor of the Lake Park Post.
It is really a hellhole. And they have what they call an X team. They're kind of a goon squad that goes around and they call it Peter rolling. They just beat the hell out of people. And they do it because they're, one, recalcitrant and noisy, or because they're told to. Either by Leroy Smith or perhaps Kenneth Cooper. Certainly, you got to throw the sheriff in there too.
Linda Lewis is a former prisoner of the Lowndes County Jail who, by her own admission, was in and out of jail during one 4-year period.
They made a believer out of me. I'm a believer. I do not want to go back. I'd rather die and go to hell or die and go to heaven. But I do not want to go back in that place. And it's freezing in there. That's the only place that's cold in the county. Medical? That's right. You could be up there with pneumonia. It's still going to be freezing up there. You can ask for cover. You is not going to get it. They'll tell you, make do with what you got. Breakfast time, you get some more watered down ass grits. Lunchtime, you get 2 damn sandwiches, which they're going to stand to the damn door and throw them through the rails to you. If you catch them, you catch them. If you don't, you just got to pick it up and eat it if you want it. Usually the guard, they come and get you for medical. This is the way she come and get you. Y'all bitches better get up if you got to go to medical. I ain't waiting around here all damn day long on y'all motherfuckers. If you wasn't in here, you wouldn't have to do all this shit. And I'll be elsewhere. I can do whatever the fuck I want to do. Y'all bitches better come on. That's where they come and get you. When I first went in Brooklyn one time, it was this girl, Officer Sherman, might I add. She kicked the shit out of me. And the reason why she kicked me, because I went to the door and asked for a spoon. There was an old lady in there. And she said, honey, she said, why did you kick her? She said, you're not supposed to put your feet on nobody. She said, that lady's not an animal.
The inmate has a complaint with grievance forms that are numbered. So, you know, we can check the numbers, you know, make sure somebody didn't destroy one. If an inmate makes a complaint on somebody, they can't destroy it. So, I mean, they have access to that.
They give you a grievance form for an officer. You don't hear nothing. You don't hear nothing. I talked to Captain Cooper about Officer Sermon kicking me. He wrote it down on a piece of paper. I've heard nothing else. Ain't no win. Whatever they
They'll beat you up, they'll beat you up,
ass.
Won't let you get visitation, they'll tell your people you sick.
As for sanitary napkins and all that, y'all need pads? Yeah, we need pads. They throw them to you. Just like the food. You line up in a circle, one guard stands. If you catch it, if you hit the floor, you hit the floor.
What kind of like disposal they have for that?
What is no damn disposal?
You see how I look?
When you get through with it, you whatever. Ain't no damn disposal.
Good question. Because at one point, there wasn't nowhere to dispose of the napkins. And somebody flushed, it was flushing theirs. The whole side, 5, 6, 7, 8. All those cells over flooded. They had sanitary napkins floating around this high off the floor with water, shit, piss, urine, throw up. everything. They had it. Do you know they fed us in that shit? We had to eat around that shit. I'm talking about the shit you done ate yesterday floating around in your damn face. They wanted us to pick this shit up out of this water so they could drain it. They wanted us to pick this shit up with buckets. And I refused it. But it's something to be done. Somebody need to get in there and talk to some people in there so they can do something about that call. They need to get somebody that's in over Captain Cooper and over Ashley Paul into that jail.
It bears mentioning that the Lowndes County Jail is not meant to house hardened criminals. Again, Editor Al Parsons.
People are in there mainly in there for misdemeanors. They're not, most of these people are not bank robbers, murderers, and so on. And most of them will be bonded out. And the ones that aren't bonded out are in there because they're poor. And they have to await trial sometimes a year before they are tried, which is crazy. You know, your speedy justice by your peers is a constitutional guarantee, but it doesn't work here.
What happens, however, when you lock people away and continue to degrade them? To salvage their dignity, they may withhold cooperation. They often talk back even though they know that punishment is a certainty. Fear can turn to hatred. Simple charges are liable to turn into something more serious. Far from rehabilitating, prisons become the breeding grounds of criminality. LaShonda Anderson is another woman who knows what it's like on the inside of the Lowndes County Jail.
Because I remember one time when I went in, I was like 7 months pregnant. And the police, or whoever he was, the sheriff that was arresting me, he treated me real bad. I'm talking about he's like pulling on me and talking to me like he my dad or somebody. Here I am pregnant. No, I'm already sensitive because I'm pregnant. You know what I'm saying? And when I got in there, I messed around and got sick. Don't never get sick out there. Don't get sick. Somebody taking me to medical. I'm in there 3 days. I ain't getting no medical attention for 3 days while I'm in there. And I went in there with a stomach cramp. They didn't check to see was my baby still living. They didn't check my blood pressure. They didn't check my vitals. They didn't check nothing.
And this same sheriff allegedly covered up what happened to Willie Jane Williams, and the same thing that he come back and trying to do now. Sheriff Ashley Paul, you didn't have anything to do with it, as you say. But the lies you put on this paper made you just a part of the cover-up and the conspiracy of what's going on in my son's case. And I will fight as long as I have to uncover what exactly happened to Kendrick Johnson.